Rents are up $3,000 a year. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. Let's have a look at this article from Yahoo Finance discussing rents out of control. Now, here's the thing. We're going to start to see calls from, well, we already are, from the Greens for rent control. It will not work. It disincentivizes investment in property. It disincentivizes maintenance in property. It results in a black market in subletting, and it is a complete disaster. We should learn from other countries that have already attempted rent controls and how they've failed. If you want to get renting cheaper, you need to increase the supply drastically. You need to remove impediments to people renting. Like here in Queensland, where now people can rent out their granny flats. That's a small step. It's a baby step. It's really bloody late. And I think some people are shocked that they actually shouldn't be doing what they're doing. But that's the type of thinking that we need. But also, the fact that rents are just so high at the moment, and this is through many parts of Australia as well, it's more support to the housing market. It means the yields look even better. So, Aussie renters on average fork out an extra $62 a week on rent last year, or over $3,000 a year, new research finds. The average rental climbed 13.8% over the last 12 months, research from the Parliamentary Library commissioned by the Greens found. Rents rose from an average of $448 a week in June 2021 to $510 a week in June 2022 for households managed by real estate agent. That increase was slightly lower for private rentals. Overall, Aussies paid an extra $7.1 billion in rent across 2.2 million rental properties. And, I mean, here's the thing. This is why Australians have such an obsession with rental properties. You know, they just love it. Aussies love housing. They love negative gearing. It's all part of our culture. And I don't even know if they're the best way to invest, honestly. I would really love it if the housing market would just stagnate for a decade. Just stagnate. It doesn't even have to crash. It just has to stop being insane. And hopefully that would incentivize investments in other things, other businesses. Maybe some more innovation. Rents are out of control. Millions of Australians are struggling to pay the rent. And families are facing living in tents and cars because they can't afford record rate rent increases. Max Chandler Martha, MP Green spokesperson for housing and homelessness, told The Guardian. Now, here's the thing that the Greens are never going to highlight. We need to look at local authorities and how they're inhibiting development, how they're getting in the way of development. I've spoken to investors who will intentionally vote for the Greens because the Greens get in the way for development. You've got the whole not in my backyard crowd. They're causing this. Okay, they're just as much to blame as everything else. You can't dismiss them. Sometimes, if you want cheaper rent, you're going to have to live next to higher density living. Okay? You can't have it both ways. You can't bitch and moan about housing affordability, bitch and moan about rent being too high, then wasting your vote for the Greens or damaging the country by voting for the Greens. And then turning around going, oh no, I don't want that development. Oh no, I don't want that. One way to reduce the carbon footprint is to have people living in higher density, closer in the city. That would make a tremendous impact. When Australian renters have paid an extra $7 billion in rent over the last year alone, no wonder so many are struggling. The research comes as the Greens call for a 2-year national freeze on rent, as well as capped increases after the rent freeze. This is it. They want to bring rent control in. Look at what happened to Ireland. An entire country, they went hard against landlords. They jacked up the taxes that you couldn't evict anyone. So the landlord said, screw this, got out. There's only like 700 properties in the country available for rent. In the whole country. This is what happens when you stuff around with a market. They already screw with the housing market so much, it's insane. And we don't really have a free market at all by any measure. We've got an interventional market, but still, they're just going to make it worse. Do people just not... it must be they don't understand the implications of what the Greens are actually saying. I think the average punter is just following the script and just going with the flow and can't see the bigger picture. So families are choosing between food and rent. Yes, well, as I've said, cutting down on meals is a great way to save money. Everyone should go a week without food. They should test themselves. See how many days you can go without food. Try it. Adopt the stoic approach to life. Experience some hardships intentionally to prepare yourself and to overcome these, well, irrational fears people have. We see all the articles on ABC, left, right, and center. You know, some super fat land whale. Oh, I had to skip one meal. They got a bloody chicken wing under their double chin. I had to skip a meal to feed little Johnny because I pissed away all my money. Boo hoo hoo. I mean, come on, get your shit together. Seriously. And if I'm offending you with that comment, well, look in the mirror. The Australian Council of Social Services, ACOS, has called on the federal government to increase welfare payments as the cost of living skyrockets. Research from ACOS found 96% of people on income support renting privately are in rental stress, spending over 30% of their income on rent. Rising rental costs are also forcing people on income support to skip meals, it found. Those on JobSeeker currently receive $48 a day. The group is calling for income support payments to increase to at least $73 a day. So what would that be? I mean, here's the thing, everyone. I appreciate the fact that living on $48 a day is bullshit. But here's the thing. What was it? Hang on. Restart again. $73. $26,000 a year they want to give to people, as opposed to 48 times 365, $17,000 a year. So another $10,000, 26 grand. Why would people work if they're getting $73 a day, everyone? This is the problem. JobSeeker and these support services are emergency payments meant to bridge the gap until you can find additional employment. They're not a universal basic income. They're not income protection insurance. They're only for people who don't have their own means. Honestly, I'd rather we get rid of UBI. We get rid of all of it, all the Centrelink, everything, all the pension, all of it, all the family tax benefit, all of it. Just go UBI. Imagine how much more efficient it would be. Never happen. You've got special interest groups all claiming specialist support. It'll just be the same mess. But I mean, this is the problem. There'll be some people who quite happily just sit on 26 grand a year, nearly 30 grand a year, and not work. Here's the thing. If you're going to implement these type of things, it's going to push up wages as well, because the people working on minimum wage won't put up with it when they go, well, I can just go on the dole. It's easier than, dealing with a terrible job. So then that'll also push up cost of living. It won't happen instantly, but it'll happen. So, I mean, it's a messy situation here. What's the solution, everyone? You need to get rid of the disincentive to work, the poverty trap where they lose their payments too quick. There needs to be a way to incentivize people to work so they can get off the welfare. And often, one of the issues is, if you're out of work too long, you won't get a job. No one will look at you. They'll look at your resume, they'll say, oh, you've been unemployed for that long. They can't be bothered dealing with you, taking the potential risk. Because nowadays, every time you employ someone, there's a potential risk. There could be lawsuits, there could be legal action, there could be a whole mess of pain. Would you take that risk? That's when I argue it needs to be easier to hire and fire people. So it's easier to give people a shot. But, people don't like the idea of that because they want everyone to have security, everyone to have all these perks, but they don't realize that marginalizes some people from even getting a shot. And what if that's all you needed? Your first foot in the door to get a taste for it. Anyway, economists and commentators speak reassuringly of buffers, but there is no buffer when your income is $48 a day, let alone in the face of surging prices for petrol, food, and rent. Yes, but this is only meant to be a temporary measure. It's not meant to be long-term income. So But as well, you've got to also understand the other thing is minimum wage causes this. You get people who aren't worth the minimum wage, so they can't get the skills to open the doors to get their foot on the ladder, and they're stuck on welfare. So let's have a talk about this one, guys. So, I mean, we've got rents out of control. You've got the Greens calling for rent control. I'm not surprised. They're not the best economic managers, and they don't seem to be paying attention to what's happening around the world. You've got charities calling for the dole to be increased significantly. What's that going to do for Australia in the future? People are going to get trapped in poverty. That's what it's going to mean. They'll get trapped. They'll stuck on a wealth trap or welfare trap. That money will be too much for them that there'll be even less incentive for people to go out and work, and they'll never get off it. We need to change the thinking around it. You either have to implement a UBI and ditch all this complexity, or you need to remove the minimum wage and allow for people to, work while they're on the dole, to kind of slide into employment, make it easier, make that path up a lot easier. Or you're going to just have to have one thing chasing after the other if you're increasing everything. What do you reckon, guys? Honestly, I think the solution is to increase housing supply. Find ways to get more housing built, and then find ways. You know what? Here's an idea. If you have a certain percentage of long-term unemployed working on your site for labourer or menial jobs, or even getting a trade, you can get a reduction in local council rates, or maybe you can get additional floor area, or maybe additional height of your building, or maybe your headwork charges are gone. Why not? That's if you need to build, you need more housing. We've got people who are unemployed. You need to find ways to get the two working together. You tell me, guys. Give me your suggestions. As always, thanks for watching. And check out my other channels, HeiseBim and HeiseSays International. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I talk about here, there are a few ways you can help out. You can support us financially on YouTube or Patreon. Use our referral links, buy our pocket squares, or call us if you need an architect. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. And I'll see you in the next episode of HeiseSays.